Imagine a king so wealthy that wherever he traveled, gold lost its value. A king whose journey shook entire economies. A king whose name was written into history not by war, but by wealth, wisdom, and faith. This is the story of Mansa Musa, ruler of the Mali Empire. And the man many historians call the richest human being who ever lived. But this story is not just about gold. It is about power, vision, and an African empire the world once depended on. Long before Europe rose to power, West Africa was already thriving. The land was called Mali. It stretched across present-day Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, Niger, and parts of Nigeria. It was rich in rivers, especially the Niger River, which fed farms, cities, and trade. People farmed. Scholars taught. Merchants traveled. And beneath the soil lay something the world desperately wanted. Gold. By the 13th century, Mali controlled over half of the world's known gold supply. Whoever controlled Mali controlled wealth. Mansa Musa was not born king. He became ruler around 1312 after his predecessor disappeared during an ocean expedition. Some say the former king sailed to discover what lay beyond the Atlantic and never returned. When Musa took the throne, Mali was already strong. But under him, it became legendary. He was disciplined, highly educated, deeply religious, and extremely intelligent. Unlike many rulers who ruled through fear, Mansa Musa ruled through structure, justice, and strategy. But the world did not yet know his name. That was about to change. In 1324, Mansa Musa decided to perform the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. But he didn't travel like an ordinary man. He traveled like an empire. Mansa Musa left Mali with a caravan so massive it seemed unreal. Historians describe 60,000 people, 12,000 slaves, each carrying gold bars, 80 camels, each loaded with up to 300 pounds of gold, soldiers, scholars, officials, and servants, silk, fine clothes, and endless riches. As the caravan moved through the Sahara, people stopped and stared. No one had ever seen anything like it. When Mansa Musa reached Cairo, Egypt's capital, something extraordinary happened. He gave, and gave, and gave. He gave gold to the poor, to merchants, to scholars, to rulers, to strangers. Gold flowed so freely that its value collapsed. Prices rose. Markets became unstable. For nearly 10 years, Egypt struggled with inflation because of Mansa Musa's generosity. One historian later wrote, "Never before had anyone been so generous with gold. Imagine being so rich that your kindness causes economic chaos." That was Mansa Musa. News of the African king spread fast. Arab scholars wrote about him. European mapmakers drew him. In the famous Catalan Atlas of 1375, Mansa Musa is shown seated on a throne, holding a golden orb. Europe was stunned. Many Europeans had believed Africa was poor, uncivilized, and backward. Mansa Musa destroyed that lie without speaking a word. But Mansa Musa was not obsessed with gold. He was obsessed with legacy. On his return from Mecca, he brought back architects, scholars, scientists, teachers, books. He transformed cities like Timbuktu and Gao into centers of learning. He built mosques, including the famous Jingaraba Mosque, which still stands today. Timbuktu became home to universities, libraries, tens of thousands of manuscripts, students from across Africa and the Middle East. At a time when Europe was in the Dark Ages, African scholars were studying law, medicine, astronomy, and mathematics. This was no accident. This was leadership. Modern economists have tried to calculate his wealth. They failed. Some estimate his fortune at over $400 billion in today's value. But the truth is, his wealth cannot be measured. Because he didn't just own gold. He controlled the source, mines, trade routes, taxes, territory. He understood economics long before the modern world named it. After Mansa Musa's death in 1337, Mali remained powerful, but never the same. Later rulers lacked his discipline. Internal struggles grew. Trade routes shifted. Eventually, the empire weakened. But its impact never disappeared. The world had seen Africa's potential. and it could not be unseen.